What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about how to future-proof your career before it's too late. It sounds a little clickbait-ish, I will admit it. However, unless you live under a rock, it's pretty obvious that there are some really massive macroeconomic shifts happening that are creating a lot of instability. So we're going to unpack the top 3 trends that are going to affect your ability to consistently land work, hopefully remote work, over the next decade. Let's break it down. Before we jump in, if you're new here, my name is Delaney William. I run Elevated Tech, which is the world's largest automation-based remote job placement company. We've helped over 140 people in the last year and a half from Meta, Netflix, Airbnb, Google, and more land remote jobs on autopilot without having to do any applying themselves. So we are truly experts. If you want to stay up to date on everything, job market, how to get remote work, how to create financial freedom by job stacking, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so that you stay posted for all our new content weekly. Now, let's jump into the value. There are 3 main trends that are going to affect your ability to land consistent work, and the first is outsourcing. You might be like, Delaney, there's been outsourcing for decades. That's true, but the way in which it's being done and the accessibility and the quality is shifting dramatically. Traditionally, companies would outsource to India or China. Now, there's a growing trend of outsourcing high skill roles like coding or sales to Brazil and other South and Central American countries. And why is this a risk? A, these people speak very good English, they work in our time zone, so it's much more realistic to get high quality work out of these people, whereas that might have been the factor that prevented companies from offshoring work to India or China in the past. If a company can get one US-based employee for $150K and they could get 3 to 5 people in one of those Central or South American territories who's going to be able to do high quality work that's comparable, it's kind of a no-brainer for companies that ultimately at the end of the day have to care about profitability and return on investment. I'm going to share some data with you in this video. We'll drop all the links down below for all our sources, but I do want to read you a few data points here. So roughly 66% of all US companies now outsource at least one department overseas, and economists are estimating that 26% of US service jobs are offshoreable. So that means 1 in every 4 US-based jobs could go offshore, and it's not unrealistic to assume that this will continue to grow over time. The second risk to your job is AI. This is not news, everyone's covering it, so we're not gonna beat a dead horse here, but I want you to zoom out, and this is the most important thing when it comes to AI. Right now, AI is really cool, it's awesome, it enables productivity, but what people don't realize, because the human brain was designed to think in terms of linear, like, okay, this much has happened in the last 2 years, so it'll probably be double this in 2 years, is how our brain logic default wiring operates. However, with the advancement of AI, the power of AI doubles every, I believe it's like 5 or 6 months.
And similarly, the scaling laws basically are showing that every 6 months or so, we now have, doubling of capacity. In fact, one of the things that I think a lot about is performance. You can even say tokens per dollar per watt. That's the new sort of currency. And you measure it by that. Every 6 months we have doubling. And some of it comes because of compute power. A lot of it actually comes from just better techniques around how to use data and algorithms. And so this is something that's inflected.
Twice in 1 year, AI power doubles. In its infancy, the growth trend goes from being maybe that big to being that big. Okay, that's not such a huge gap, but exponential doubling looks like this on a curve. So the main takeaway here is realizing that just because the rate of adoption and the pace of AI has been pretty manageable and people can adapt, and even though so many people have lost jobs, that means like an exponential curve upward means that in 5 to 10 years, no one has any clue what the job market's gonna look like. And there's a very, very high likelihood that in the window of 5 to 10 years from now, nearly all jobs are able to be done with AI. And we think about that as like this haha or like really interesting future scenario, but it's highly likely. We're already seeing AI agents take the competency of LLMs and be able to API and connect into your different platforms and do actual things for you. That's only going to become more and more easy to do. You really could just, as a business owner, I could just link up my email marketing software, my Meta ad software, my client communication platform, and all those things could just intercommunicate, and that is coming and it will happen. So entire companies can operate with just one person, and what does that mean for the job market? These aren't things that are gonna affect you tomorrow, but if you're not prepared and you're not thinking about what does that mean for 5 to 10 years from now, and what am I doing now to prepare for that, it's something you really need to and should be thinking about. How do you actually benefit? There's gonna be so much transformation that people will win. There will be people that completely thrive during that time. How do you make sure you're one of them? And the third factor that's going to affect your ability to get consistent traditional work over the next 10 years is fractional employment. we've seen this rising trend of fractional CFO, fractional CMO, where people are essentially operating under a consulting model where it's, I'm going to provide a service to you rather than be employed by you full time. Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, was recently quoted saying that the 9 to 5 will be dead by 2034. That is less than 9 years away, closer to 8 at this point. He understands the job market better than anyone, and he's saying that the traditional 9 to 5 will go away and that everything will move towards a consulting model. Because again, the 9 to 5, why did it exist? Because you were operating in a factory or a traditional business where things took more time. It really required 40 hours a week for you to do your little component of your job. It's so obvious to see in the modern job market that that is not the case, that most people who work a remote job can do their job in 20 to 30 hours a week, unless you work for some big, really busy company. It's more and more normalized that you just need to do a function. And again, as an entrepreneur, I almost exclusively hire people at a fractional rate because it makes more sense. I don't need someone for 40 hours a week. And as companies get more and more effective and AI enables employees to get way more done with less time, it only makes sense that more companies are going to opt for fractional employees where they get more for their money, more for their buck. But as you can see, as that number continues to rise and rise, people need to put food on the table. There's less traditional work out there, and you need to really be able to fend for yourself a little bit more and create your own opportunities rather than relying on traditional work opportunities. Okay, so that's it with the doom and gloom. Now we're going to talk about actionability. Those are 3 things. They're all going to get worse. They're all going to get more serious, but we believe in empowerment and how do I take the reality and own it and just say, hey, this is the new landscape. How am I going to thrive? I don't even want to scare you that it's that hard to get a job. It is challenging to get a job, but we consistently place people every week in remote 6-figure jobs. If you learn how to play the game, it's very doable. But now is really the time to stack that income and rake in that nest egg while you still can, because there's still great remote work opportunities. None of these trends have been totally baked in and totally saturated yet to the point that we're in red alert territory. Now people who are diligent and taking this seriously, like you might be comfortable in a 6-figure job, but if you realize like, wow, 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to be very uncertain. I should do whatever I can to 3x my annual income now, so I have a nest egg, so me and my family are safe. Even if some of these challenging things happen and it's hard to get work in the future, we'll be fine. But as promised, what are the things that are more macro level outside of just increasing your current income that will help you future-proof your income to make sure you are fine? Again, I can't predict the future. I can't guarantee you'll be fine, but as someone who is always focused on the job market and the economy and where things are going and how do we future-proof ourselves, these are the top things that I see as opportunities for you to make sure you set yourself apart. Number 1 is upskill. Make sure you're understanding what are the top trends, where are companies going, what will always exist. Sales will always exist. Marketing will always exist. Client success will always exist. And there are plenty of technical roles that will exist for a long time. So I'm not here to give you a whole list of these are the top fields that you should learn, but do your research, understand what are the fields that will likely have longevity over the next 10 years. What am I currently doing professionally? Can I likely continue to do this professionally? If so, maybe I just need to augment my skill set a little bit. That's number 1. Number 2 is diversify your income streams now to get ahead of the game. I highly encourage people to be having multiple sources of income, have your traditional 9 to 5, potentially work multiple if you can get away with it, in the sense of you could get each of your jobs done in 20 or less hours a week, do some side consulting, figure out how to start creating new income streams on your behalf. And that goes into number 3, which is really understand how to think like a consultant. Because if you traditionally rely on, hey, they're hiring, cool, I applied to the job and I got it, that does work now. But in the future, if you're someone that knows how to go out and generate business for yourself, you will always, 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 always have opportunities. If you can think more like an entrepreneur and a consultant, there will always be problems to solve. If you have a marketing skill set and you're used to having a traditional 9 to 5, go figure out how to reach out to companies and get paid to do side contracts for them. If you have that skill set, no matter what's happening in the market, you can be adaptable and there will always be problems to solve. Even if the market and the economy tanks, people will have problems, they will need them solved. And you can be there to make sure you still have sustainable income for you and your family. And the last and final point is to really understand the modern hiring game and have an excellent personal brand. If you understand how the modern job market works, if you understand how the AI auto resume reject filters that are baked into LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiters, how all that works, how to make a great resume, how to make a great LinkedIn, how to really just run the job search today, that's foundational. When you get to a point where you need support in your career, the job market and how all this stuff works will continue to evolve and continue to grow. But if you already don't understand how the modern job market works, you will be so far behind. It's critical that you understand where we're at today so that as the job market continues to evolve and expand and like doing AI interviews is now a normalized thing. So as this stuff keeps happening, like you need to stay top of mind and understand it, because if you're happily employed for 6 years and then you get fired and you haven't been understanding how it works, you could be in for a really rude awakening and be unemployed for a year or more trying to figure out how the game works. And trust me, we talk to dozens of these people every week that are like that. And the back half of that component is make sure your personal brand is dialed. Like, how do you present yourself online? We're totally in the technological era. if you don't have a dialed LinkedIn, a personal presence, you're not going to stand out against the 500 other people that are looking for the exact type of work you are. Having a great personal brand that sells for you is going to be super effective. So I hope this was helpful. In this video, we covered the top 3 risks that are going to affect your ability to land remote work going into the next decade, and the top things you can and should be doing to future-proof your career. If you need or want support with this, we have an awesome free community. You can click the link down below, get in it, access our free coursework, post questions, get support, because we want to make sure you have an awesome resume, have an awesome LinkedIn, and are getting out awesome applications so that you're able to land great remote work, scale your income sources, and set yourself up for an awesome financial foundation, regardless of whatever happens over the next decade. See you in the next video.